Hi, I'm Susan Winter for SusanWinter.net. A thought came to me the other day that nobody issues a love license. In every other field where we enter and the stakes are high and what we do counts and there are repercussions for what we do, we have to get certified or get a license. And in love, you don't. What do? You just start. Nobody even tells you how to drive this big vehicle that's your heart, how to attend to your emotions. If you have a crash, nobody even tells you what the protocol is. So I thought, well, what if we did have a love license? Okay, well, first of all, it might start like this. There'd be a little preliminary study, sort of like you do with the written test. You might bother, before you get in your love machine, which is your heart and your body driving it, to take a look at the manual. Yeah, that thing that you never read. My my girlfriend sells and leases cars, and her favorite thing to do when she gets a new car every couple of years is to read the manual cover to cover. Okay, I don't. Like, the light doesn't work, the radio won't turn on for some reason, then I look, okay? But when it comes to ourselves and what we want, yeah, it would be productive to take a look at our own manual. Not what our friends want in relationships, not what our parents said they wanted, not what society tells us. Take a look at our own manual. What do we want? How are we built? Where are our buttons? How is everything connected? To be familiar with that before we get on the road to do this thing called love. Then, do we have a destination in plan? It's amazing how many people just start, have no idea where they're going, which may seem like fun. I get it. That's a thing. Some people like to drive and get lost. But for those of you that have ever had a relationship with somebody that doesn't know where they're going and they tell you, I'm going with the flow, it's very confusing if you're the other person there because they really don't know what they're doing. So before we go anywhere, we should at least have a destination in mind. And if we know, I'm just going to take a left, take a right, get lost, at least present that information to our partner. So maybe they want to get out of the passenger seat because it's not a ride they want to take. And what happens to when everybody's going really fast and there's a collision? What happens in the case of an accident? Now, this is the one thing that nobody seems to want to take the time to examine in advance. We know this is a high-risk event. Loving is high risk. And yet, there'll be more time and energy spent on what clothes do we wear, what kind of personality do we want to bring out when we meet somebody. No time whatsoever on the protocol and the exit strategy if there's a crash. What do we do? What is my responsibility if I injure you? How much am I responsible? What is correct behavior? Certainly, hitting and running is not advisable, and yet, in the absence of information, in the confusion, in the chaos, in the terror and the panic, people will hit and run because they don't have another sense of what to do. They've never thought it through. What if somebody injures you? What are your rights, by the way? What are the actions you take to heal yourself? Do you have a plan to do this, 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 and this, knowing that that will heal you and stabilize you? Chances are you haven't thought that one through. But why would somebody start on the road to love if they don't have an emergency kit and don't know what to do in case there's an accident? And yet these things we rarely think about. It's not like there's a committee overseeing us. We're not being graded on, can we take this written test and do we pass, and can we still drive? Are we capable of driving? Should we be allowed to have our love license? This doesn't come into play. There's no SEC. There's nobody overwatching. Okay, once in a while, a judge will say you have to pay some money. This did not work out. But along the way, we find very little advice. Maybe if we're lucky, we do our own research. We come to YouTube and we click on channels that we think might aid us. And we do our own investigation of how we're built and what we want. And by the way, that manual that I spoke about in the beginning, that one gets constantly updated. Unlike the paper manuals that you find in your car, which are just for that version of car for that year, you get constant updates, just like on your computer, because life affects you. And every time you live life and take in new input, you have changed to some degree. And what you want in a relationship will also change in correspondence. But I think it's worth taking a look at this thing that we create as such a mystery. And it's impossible and it's difficult and we don't know what we're doing. It's actually very simple. There is a protocol, and the more we are informed with how we function, what to do in case of an emergency, what is correct behavior, the better the entire experience, not just for ourselves, but for others. That's just a thought I had in mind. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I hope that helps you. Susan Winter for SusanWinter.net. Thanks a lot.